God bless you, brothers and sisters in Christ. Today it's your host Elvis Jingo, and I'm going to be sharing with you how to plan for your future. These podcasts are specifically targeted at the younger generations, those who are still young adults or teenagers, or even young people aspiring to get somewhere in life. However, it's more importantly targeting those that are becoming discouraged and feeling they might never get to fulfill their dreams. The Bible says in the book of Jeremiah that before I formed thee, I knew thee. Before I made you, before I needed you in your mother's womb, I already knew what you become. This tells us that God makes everyone unique. Before God made you, He had a reason why He made you. He designed you for a specific reason. God put in every man and every woman a unique skill and talent for the benefit of the world. This is called your purpose, the purpose to which God made you. He didn't make you just to come and exist on earth or eat and grow and then die. He made you to be a world changer. When we think about Moses, we think about a man who led the children of Israel out of Egypt. When we think about Gideon, we think about a man who helped defeat the enemies of Israel. When we think about Samson, we think about a man who defeated the Philistines, and so on and so forth. But when we think about you, what can we think that you've brought into this world? Do we see just what has already existed? Do we see repetition of copycats? Do we see repetition of designs? Do we see repetition of what others have already made? What is it that you've brought into this world? The world we see today was created by God. However, God uses the men He made in His image to beautify this world. That means before God had to create electricity, He had to use a man. Before God created a car, He had to use a man. Before God created a bicycle, He had to use a man. Before God created sheep, He had to use a man. That means that God continually remains on the basis of using man to improve the world, to make it a beautiful place. And so God is counting on you to also be one of those that can change the way this world operates. However, it's not so. Every day we see a lot of people dying. In a year, over 55.3 million people die. And I can tell you that a lot of these people do carry their talents and gifts back to the grave. And this hurts God. So I'm trying to tell you, if you understand the reason why God made you, you're not going to fall into this error of dying without creating an impact. The Bible says that in the latter time God will pour out His Spirit, and the old men should dream dreams, and the young men should have visions. Visions speaks of things that are still to materialize, are still to come to pass. What is the vision that God gave to you? The devil does not fight your age, he fights your vision. There are three major enemies every young person or every teenager will confront. And you must defeat these enemies if you must become the star God made you to become. I'm not talking about some young fellow who's looking at the television and seeing some celebrities and wants to be like them. I'm not talking about the wannabe kind of people. I'm talking about a teenager who is born and gifted and has unique talents and knows that I was born to be great. I was born to be somebody. I'm not talking about a dreamer. Dreamers just sleep and have dreams, but have no interpretation of it. But visionaries have the vision and map out the plans for it. I'm not talking about dreamers, I'm talking about visionaries. The three major enemies every young person is going to confront is time, number one. Number two, your mind. And number three, the how to. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit of detail. Before I get to that, I'd like to say something to you. Your life is divided into four major parts. I'm dealing with the time issue now, the time enemy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Your life I repeat again, your life is broken into these 4 different timings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Your good morning is your age from 5 to 17. You're 5 years old to 17 years old. That's your good morning. From 17 to 29, that's your good afternoon. From 30 to 45, that's your good evening. And your good night comes from the age of 46 to when you're dead. Now, the problem with a lot of young people is that many of you or many young people wake up when it's good evening or good night. And Jesus clearly stated in the Bible is that the night cometh when no man can work. I want to explain something to you. Listen very carefully. When you are born, God gives you timings. The Bible says time and season happening to them all. God gives you specific times to accomplish certain purposes. For example, did you know that when you pick up a book to read, God gives you a grace to finish that particular book within a specific time? When that time expires, you then begin to struggle to finish one little book that could have taken you probably 1 week to finish. But that book could last you 1 year and you never read it because the grace period, the period of grace to finish that book is expired. And so you start struggling. That's when the spirit of procrastination comes in. I will read it. I will read it. I will read it. This also happens in with the Bible. Sometimes you might pick up the Bible and God give you the grace. And then you made a promise to say, well, I'm going to finish the Bible by the end of the year. Then that time comes in, you get distracted over and over, and the time of grace that God has given you to finish the Bible within 6 months expires. Then you start to drag. And I can assure you that you might likely leave this world without ever finishing the Bible. Because the grace, the time of the grace has expired. So you need to understand the spiritual timing. There is a earthly time which is Chronos. This is a time when they tell you, well, you get into uni by the age of 18, you finish uni. By the age of 21, you do masters. By the age of these, by the age of that. That's the earthly time. That's Chronos. Then you have what we call, well, I'll just call it Arti time, which is what we call once in a lifetime opportunity. That's very dangerous. Now, if you miss that time, you might never have another opportunity again to get that same chance. Your once in a life opportunity or once in a lifetime might come, maybe someone was there to pay your tuition fee at a particular time, but you missed it, or you had an opportunity, or you had a scholarship to enter into uni, but you were joking, you were sleeping, you were playing around, and you missed it. Now, that time you've missed ends up affecting the timetable, because everyone has a spiritual timetable. Now, the problem is that when you do that and you fail, you've affected your timetable, and then you end up blaming God for it, whereas it was something that had to do with you. So God is like a father who gives you your tuition fee and gives you a pocket allowance, sends you off to school. Now it's up to you to manage the way you want to manage it. If you take the time and you're playing and joking around and watching Netflix and you end up failing in life, God has no responsibility over it. Now it's a bitter truth, but you have to accept it. Some people wake up when it's good afternoon. Let me use another parable. When you were a child, or when you were in reception, or year 1, year 2, year 3, still in a junior primary school, you were given a pencil to write. When you write and you make a mistake, you can turn the pencil over and use your eraser or your rubber to wipe off whatever you wrote. As you grow older, you now have a license to use a pen. The pen means if you make an error, you can't erase it anymore. That's also to warn you that whatever mistakes you make at a certain stage you might not be able to remove it again. So you need to be very careful. The older you become, the more diligence you have to take, the more care you have to take, the more precaution you have to take. So we've dealt with the enemy of time. Be very careful how you use your time, because when you get older, the chances of you accomplishing what you originally wanted to accomplish becomes very slim. You need to be very careful. Number 2, let's talk about the enemy of the mind. This is when you always think less about yourself. You always feel, I'm not good enough. Maybe my color, because I'm black, because I'm brown, because I'm Asian, because I'm this. A person's color does not determine how successful the person becomes. I'm sorry that the society has tried to deceive people to think that color really matters. Color is not as effective as your mind. It's all about mindset. There are people that were black but have gone up to create a revolution in history. So many black people, so many Asian, so many Chinese, so many different countries. It's all about the mind. It's a content. Once upon a time, a little boy was watching an old man blow balloons and release it to the sky. There were 3 colors. There was a black, there was a white, and there was brown. And this man released the white balloon, which had helium in it, and it went up. And a little boy stood there and watched the brown also go up. So the little boy laughed and said, well, definitely the black is not going to go up. And the black went up. And he was confused. He walks up to this man and says, how comes the black and the brown balloon went up? And the old man said, well, actually the problem is not the balloon, is that the content has helium in it. So it's obvious it's going to go up in the sky. And the boy said, no, I never thought the black was going to go. The man said, no, you're looking at the color. Focus on the content. It's the helium that makes it go up. So what's this parable about? It's trying to tell you, if the content, if your heart, your mindset, if you think rich, if you think prosperous, you're going to be prosperous. If you think poor, you're definitely going to be poor. Your currency is in your mind. Never you carry the mindset of feeling, because of my color, I'm not going to excel. Because of my color, I don't think I'm going to do well in life. That is false. When I was at a university, I was the only black student in my class. And I did so well. My teacher used to call me sir. She never called me by my name. She never called me Elvis. She always called me sir, because she respected me. I was able to deliver what she expected. I was able to deliver much more than my peers. I was surrounded by whites. I was surrounded by lots of nationalities, but I never for once felt because of my color I'll be discriminated. It's a mindset. It's wrong for you to go through life feeling people are going to look down on you because of your color. Your color is not a factor. If your mind is big and you bring the result, it silences critics. But if you keep having the pity party in yourself, I'm black, no one is going to like me, no one's going to give me the job, I know I'm not going to enter into Cambridge, I'm not going to have access to Oxford because of my color, that's a lie. Do not limit yourself. So your mind is your enemy. If you're studying for an exam and you keep thinking to yourself, well, it's too difficult, I can assure you you're definitely going to fail. It's a fact, because you think low about yourself. If you don't trust your own brain to make you pass, how do you expect your brain to trust you? If you don't trust your brain to make you pass, your brain will not trust you. It will give you failure, because that is what you put in it. And the final is how to. How do you achieve your purpose in life? Number one, you need to discover what you're actually called to do. If you have a talent, it does not mean that's what you're called to do. There is a difference between talent and a gift and a calling. Some people think because they are fans of football, it means they are called to be footballers. Some girls think because they know a little bit of fashion, it means they are called to be fashion designers. That's very, very wrong. You might have a gift, but it doesn't make it a talent. You might have a talent, it doesn't make it a calling. Your talents are what you're naturally good at, which benefits you. Your gifts is your talent, which can bring you source of income. Your calling is what you're called to impact and to leave as a legacy. So there's a very big difference between these three things. But most of you take your talents and make it into a calling. And just because you can sew one little dress, you assume that's what you're supposed to go into. You have no idea about what you're actually called to do. You just want to be it. You just want to copycat, or because you watch someone on television, probably a celebrity, and then she looks nice in a certain dress, you assume that you too are going to go into that business without realizing that they have been working behind the scenes for many years before they came out. The enemy to the youths today is that most of you want to reach the result without going through the process. You just want to be, but you don't want to do what it takes to get to where you want to be. So you need to be very careful. So going back to the last thing, how to. Number one, if you want to be something in life, look at the history of those who've arrived there. Ask them questions. Find out how they got there. If you want to get into business, find out, meet someone who has succeeded in the business. Be his friend or be her friend. Study the way she manages the business. Ask her how she got contacts. Ask her where she buys her products. Well, she might not give you all the details, but if you can meet 10 people who do the same thing, you're going to get an idea. Carry out research. Don't just jump into it and then you start doing without knowing what you really get into. Number two, think like the people should think. If you are a pilot, think the way a pilot thinks. If you are a doctor, think the way a doctor thinks. In fact, carry yourself the way a doctor has carried. For example, we know as a doctor, you have to be very detailed. As a doctor, you have to conduct yourself in a very professional manner. If you want to be a doctor and you're very childish, you're very quick-tempered, then you have problems with patients. Because as a doctor, you have to understand that a patient is sick. So you need to be very loving and very calm and be very attentive. If you're a teacher and you hate reading, there's no way you're going to be a teacher, because to be a teacher, you need excessive amount of knowledge. So that means you need to be surrounded with books all the time. If you're going to be an accountant, you can't say you hate calculation, you hate mathematics. You must get yourself acquainted to figures. Otherwise, you're not going to produce results. If you want to be a sports person, you want to be a runner, you need to practice every time. You need to wake up both in winter, summer, raining, and run in these weathers so you can be a master of your own craft. Otherwise, you just be wasting your time. Think like these people, find out how they got there, work on it. Sometimes it would take you to sacrifice. You have to wake up in the night to do some practice. And you get to where you want to get to. Because unless you have the plans in your hand, there will be nothing for God to bless you with. Jesus asked Philip, where are we going to get food to feed all these people? And Philip said, there is a lad here who has 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, and Jesus took that and multiplied it. The lady boy had a little, but Jesus multiplied it to become something great that fed 5,000 people. So what is it that you have in your hands that God can use? I want to leave you that question. Reflect on yourself and ask God to tell you why He made you and what it is that you're designed to be. God bless you.